Hello, hello, hello. Hope all is well with everyone listening to this. First, I want to say that this 10.4 is review actually from the last week we were in school. So you do, or you should, have materials at home of review things that we can look over. A lot of people had trouble with the XY, and we did focus on this the Friday before we left, which I know is a long time ago. That's what you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, Miss Franklin, that was so long ago. I know. I get it. I'm just saying, okay? Okay, I want to also make sure to clarify that when I do these homework problems, there might not be the exact same numbers that you have. However, it's still the exact same process. The questions are all very similar. The numbers for each student are different. Remember, you can retake quizzes as much as you want. You can retake homework as much as you want until the due date. Once the due date is there and it's in the grade book, I'm not going back and redoing it unless you communicate with me and tell me that there was something going on and that you couldn't get it done on time. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, that sounds great. Okay, the first question is number 8. So here's where I'll put the question number. Again, yours could be different, but it would be very similar. One thing, my stylus pen is being very sticky because my daughters have been playing with it. So sorry that you can't really read this as well. But here's my two pictures, 8 foot, 10 foot side lengths, and this says area of the larger one is 135. What's the area of the smaller? Question number 8. So again, here's where we do scale factor, perimeter ratio. Remember, those two things are the exact same. We have our area ratio. So when I'm doing perimeter ratio or scale factor, that's where you do compare the two side lengths. I'm going to simplify that fraction. Both of those are divisible by 2. So that would be my scale factor or perimeter ratio. Remember, those are the exact same thing. I need to find my area ratio. When it's area, the units are always squared. So area ratio should be squared. So here's my area ratio. And it's saying the area of the larger one. Well, when I'm looking at this, my larger ratio is on top, so that area of my larger one should be on top. And I have to figure out what the area of the bottom is. So if I solve this equation, I would have gotten 86.4. And my units would have been feet squared. However, on this program, you have to make sure to have your answer and what it's asking. It says round to the nearest whole number if needed. So my whole number would be 86 feet squared for this problem. Again, you could have the same problem, but you could have started with different numbers, or you could have had a different number right here. But the process is still the same. Someone also asked for 9, but 9 and 8 are the exact same process, just different numbers. So same thing, first thing you always want to do is set up this. I'm not going to work this one out, but that's what you should be doing to set up your problem so that's nice and organized. Next on my list is question number 13. So it's asking for the scale factor. Don't forget the scale factor and perimeter ratio are the same thing. So what they give us are two areas. So we can set up our area ratio. Remember, area is squared. Okay? So if we want to go back to one-dimensional, we would have to take the square root of this. So my scale factor would be the square root of those two numbers. So if I simplify that, that'd be 5/7. And typically, you always want to do the first number compared to the second number. And you can simplify your answer. I would probably leave it just as 5/7. There is a spot where you can type in like a fraction on the bottom of the screen once you get into that. If you have questions, make sure you're asking me. So question number 13. And the last set of questions that a lot of people had questions on were the 18 through 22. Now, we did do this in class. You have a worksheet that's very similar to this. But I'm going to pick question number 20. And my 20 is going to be different than what your 20 is. But the process will still be the same. So my question number 20 looks like this. It has the small triangle with your XY. It has my large triangle. This is 120 and this is 135. So Again, if you found that worksheet that we did with 10.4, the first thing that we're going to do is we can find the area of this larger triangle. So if I did 120 times 135, I'm going to go like this because it's a big number. The area of this is going to be 16,200. So again, scale factor, perimeter ratio, area ratio. I have two areas now. I have the smaller one, so here's my small, over my larger one. Here's my larger. I should simplify that fraction right now. And if I simplify that, I get 1 over 90. So now, if I want to find my scale factor, which I need my scale factor because right now this is one-dimensional and this is one-dimensional, I'm going to take the square root of that. So the square root of 1 will be 1. And then I have the square root of 90. I'm going to have to simplify that. Because if you look at your question, it says rationalize denominators. So using radicals, so not simplifying it with the decimal. So I have 9, 10, 3, 3, 2, 5. Here's one, cross one out. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. So this is going to be 1 over 3's on the outside. And then these two are both left inside, so square root 10. This is my perimeter ratio. This is my scale factor. I need to rationalize that. So remember, you have to get rid of this on the bottom. So this is going back to that algebra brief, the first thing we did. So I'm going to multiply it by the square root 10 over the square root 10. Because remember, whatever square root's on bottom, that's what you want to multiply by. So I'm going to have the square root of 10 over 3 times the square root of 10 times the square root of 10 is square root of 100. So now I have the square root of 10. Square root of 100 is 10. So this becomes 3 times 10, which is 30. So this is my scale factor. And I get it. These are long. Now I'm going to use that to figure out what my x and y are. So to give myself more room to find the x and y, I'm shrinking it down to actually solve it. So again, here was my scale factor, square root 10 over 30. So my scale factor, now, square root 10 over 30. I'm going to rewrite that out twice because the scale factor is the same. But now I have to figure out what x is. So x is my smaller one. And then if I look at my x, is comparable to 120. So 120 would be over here. And I also have an equation for my y. And if I look, my y is comparable to the 135. So if I cross multiply, I would get, for this first one, 120 square root square root 10 is equal to 30x divided by 30. These two can be simplified. So this would be 4 square root 10 is equal to x. That's one answer. And then I have 135 square root 10 is equal to 30y divided by 30. And if I simplify just the 135 over 30, remember you don't simplify with the square root 10 because it's not the same. It would be 9 over 2. 9 square root 10 over 2 would be equal to y. So those would be my two answers. Again, your two answers could be different. This is hard. I'm going to probably give you some points back for these last questions. Now, some of you have been asking the question, it says Mr. Cold Jelly. Well, the only reason why it says Mr. Cold Jelly is because he makes the initial homework and quiz, but I go in and I can edit it. I did not edit this one. I should have edited this one because these would not be the ones that I would want to pick for you to do. So I still want you to attempt them, but depending on what your score is, when I look, because I can look at individual scores, I might be giving you some points back. So there you have it, the questions from 10.4. Hopefully these will help you on the quiz. I guarantee this type of question will not be on the quiz. Remember, I'm here if you need anything. Have a great day, and hopefully this weather stays nice for us to go outside and go on walks with our families. Social distancing.